3 years after starting my channel, I can finally once again say I'm building a PC. So this build, we have the Ryzen 5 3600, we have a Radeon RX 6800, currently rare as rocking horse shit, a ROG STRIX B550 motherboard. We have some extra 120mm white LED fans. I've gone for the Fractal Design Focus G, Fractal Design power supply, some Corsair RGB Pro, a 2TB old school hard drive, and a Samsung 970 EVO PLUS NVMe solid state drive. Now, if you've been watching some of my other videos all the way through and not been skimming, you would know that a member of my family finally, after I've been telling people for years if they need a PC put together, approached me and says, "Pete, can you build me a really good PC that's VR ready?" And I was like, "Yep, sure, what's the budget?" And they gave me a budget of probably a max of about £750. Now, to get him a VR ready PC for that price was a bit of a struggle, and I says you're really going to have to wait until towards Black Friday, where we can start getting some good deals on components. So the CPU and motherboard came as a bundle. I saved money on that. The Fractal Design Focus G is an elegant, very low end case. I got this case for £35. It's not obviously a high end case, but it ticks all the boxes and it looks good, and it's not a small form factor case. This is an average mid-tier tower. I've saved money on his game storage by actually selling on one of my old Toshiba 2TB drives. It is from March 2015, but it's never really been used. I only used it for a short time until I upgraded from an SSD. SSD for your game storage would be much faster, but we're trying to save costs, so I sold him that for merely £40. Now, for your system drive, you really don't want to skimp on that. And we've got a 970 EVO Plus. It's only 250 gig, but for the OS, that is more than what you need. Now, minus the graphics card, this entire system I've got together for £600. Now, £600 only left him £150 for a graphics card. And to get this as a VR ready PC, we were really struggling. And he said he might be able to muster a bit more money together, and was talking about a Radeon 5700 XT. Now, me being the kind soul that I am, I could not let him put that in his system. For this time of year where we've got new graphics from AMD and Nvidia, although you people are struggling to buy them, I said, look, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do you a favour. I'm going to lend you some of the money and you can pay me back over time, as he's a member of the family and we want to get him a good PC gaming base from which you can build on in the future. So I met him with the rest of the money so he could have the Sapphire 6800. Basically, guys, the middle tier cards are now 4K gaming cards, and this will really set him up for the future. He does have a 4K display. I didn't actually find that out. I thought we were going to be running at 1080p, so he needs the horsepower in this card. Right, enough chat from me. We're now going to start getting all of this together. Right, let's have a look at the case then, because for the money, I really don't think you can get a better designed case. Fractal Design Focus G. We went for the graphite colour. Do a Linus and drop the case on the floor. Right. I'll tell you what, I've got to say, guys, I'm quickly going to show you this because I've opened this once before, but one sec. If you really are new to building computers, and I've never seen this come with a case before, but Fractal, really got to give you full kudos there. A complete install guide of how to build a PC. And as I don't do PC builds that often, being a small channel, I can't afford to go out and buy random bits and build random PCs to get you guys salivating at home. So I'm very appreciative that my brother-in-law has asked me to get a PC built for him. And this is a really cool setup guide. Will give you some idea if you've never built a PC before, but as like most men, we don't read instructions. You go in there. Let's just take the polystyrene off. Don't chuck your polystyrene, so we'll be using this later to pack this up when I drop this outside his doors. A real shame because of COVID that he can't be here to help, you know, set this up and build it. And I can't really see him actually using the system. So this is the Fractal Design Focus G. For a £35 case, I did get that in a sale. I've got to say, the paintwork, very, very good. This is the back side of the case. I've got to say, it is a bit of a flimsy case. If you can see where they've saved the money. But you've got a side panel window. Well, I won't take the plastic off yet. That is the back. I mean, it's sturdy when it's together, but it's very thin metal and material. So in the top we have space for two 120mm fans. On the front top panel there we've got USB 3, USB 2. You've got a power button, a reset button. You've got headphones and microphone audio inputs. At the front we've got this mesh design, and there are two 120mm fans behind there that are LED white, hence us buying the, and I didn't actually buy these, my brother-in-law bought these, the 3 Corsair white LED fans to go top, and in the back. Now, Fractal, I've got one complaint. These are stand-up screws that actually go in there. The lining up of this wasn't brilliant. The bottom one was alright, but the top one was slightly out. I'll take that side panel off, going to drop it on there. So this is the inside of the case. There are the two LED fans. So in the very top of the case you've got space for your optical drives, but not that many people use them anymore. You've also got space for a hard drive caddy, and I believe if we take this panel off, take this side off, so on the back side of the case you've got your USB 3, you've got power connectors in there, those are the fan connectors. We've got space there to fit a solid state drive in if we needed to. So it's a very simple, bare bones, well not bothered to say bare bones, low end case, but it does the job and it's really kept the cost of this build down. Right, next job to do, get the standoffs in. We've already got some in there for the ATX setup of the motherboard. I'll get the motherboard in, and then we'll get the processor and other bits in. So this is the Asus ROG STRIX B450F. And the reason I went for this motherboard, so depending if what VR he uses, if he uses the early VRs or something where it doesn't do inside-out tracking, it's got enough I/O on the back of the board for him to be plugging in his high-speed USB connections. So I'm just going to show you the front of that. And here's all I'm going to do, I'm just going to place this over so I can see where we need to be putting the standoffs in the case. Just while I'm putting the standoffs into the case, I wanted to mention, if the camera just comes in, they've actually marked up with the abbreviation A, A's for ATX, so it's telling you which standoffs you actually have to put in for the motherboard. So that's a very good design by Fractal, that if you can either follow the layout on the motherboard, or you can just see, well, if you're doing an ATX motherboard, you have to put them in the parts that say A. Right guys, so motherboard is in, a CPU is in. This is the back plate. This is what secures, goes on the back here and allows us to secure something onto the processor. Now the back plate on this motherboard is loose, as we can see, and as I've undone the two brackets that come with a motherboard where you can clip on a cooler that sort of hooks over there, that's dropped off. But not all cases are designed this way, but Fractal have obviously thought about that, because if I turn the case round, this is the back of the motherboard, and it's going to enable me to put the back plate back on and come around this side while I line the cooler up and screw that down onto the CPU. Now I have saved on cooling. Whether this will be adequate I don't know. This is the cooler that comes with the 3600. We don't really plan to be overclocking this CPU, so it should be more than suffice. It does come with this grid style thermal compound, but I'm going to remove that in a second. We're going to rub that off with some applicators that you can buy online. I'll show you them. And I'll use some of my very own thermal paste. But we'll go and get the removers and we'll get that sorted out. So to remove the thermal compound from the Wraith Aspire cooler, or general AMD cooler, you need something like Tim Clean from Alaska, or you can use the Arctic Clean thermal removal kit that I've got. Applicator 1 gets it off, and applicator 2 purifies the surface. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a bit more on there. Actually, it's alright to drip around the fins. You can see, clean the surface there. And then that'll be ready for us to apply some thermal compound. I picked up online, I thought I'd give this a try. This is Arctic MX4 thermal compound. A lot of people highly recommend this. I thought I'd give it a go. But when we put our thermal compound on, we want to apply that to the CPU. We're going to stick the cooler straight down to it. So what I'm going to do, just put a small blob onto the CPU. So now I'm going to fit the cooler. I'm going to put the AMD logo this side so it doesn't impede the memory over there. And what I'm going to do is line all that up. So it's been a couple of hours since you last see me building the machine. It's very difficult to be doing a build in a home environment because so much other stuff's going on. Anyway, I've put the PC together, done some cable tidying, and I just want to point out a huge, well, it's not a huge snag. At the end of the day, it's not going to stop the machine from running. But let's just talk about the elephant in the room. The power cable being fed in front of the GPU. Now the reason for this is I tried to get this build as cheap as possible for my brother-in-law. Now this is on me. The Fractal Design SFX 650G I got for an absolute steal. It was on a Black Friday offer, and it was 650 watts. It would fit in an ATX case, and it was just what I was looking for. But at the time, I didn't pay attention to the name SFX small form factor. As I said, it doesn't matter. There's a bracket on the back that actually lets the power supply fit in the case. When I took the power supply out, I actually said, oh my god, that is cute. Look how small it is. But what I didn't realise, and what's somewhat frustrating, is how short some of the cables are. Now this 24 pin power connector is 350mm. It's really frustrating. I've been unable to feed it round the back of the case and pop through up here as it should do. I've been unable to feed it just behind the back of the GPU. If the cable was just 20mm longer, Fractal, 20mm longer, we would not have had this problem. Now for some people it's going to be a trigger point. I must admit I am not happy with that really. That should be rerouted bound and back, and it does slightly spoil the aesthetic of the GPU. But I've sent pictures, I've spoken to my brother-in-law. For now we're going to just put up with that. From Cable Mods or someone like that, we can get a custom cable that's slightly longer that will solve that problem. But as I've said to him, that's not going to stop this from working. And does it really matter? If I've got a full-size ATX power supply case, the cables supplied in that are a lot longer. That is designed for a small form factor case, and it was my fault for not checking what I was buying. I just saw the price, ATX 650, and bought it. I've only realised in fitting it into the system today that really the power supply is not an issue, it's the cable that's the issue. But I wanted to point that out because some people might think, why on earth have you done that for? Simply because that is too short to fit. Just bear in mind that the length of that cable is really short and you can't route through. And to be honest, looking online, other people have already ran into this problem, and it's something you should take into consideration. Now, I've done some very, very simple cable management. I haven't gone crazy. I've just tidied it up at the back. In a minute, I'm going to get the side panel on. We're going to get the other side panel on. And I'm going to get this hooked up to a monitor and see if it boots. So here we are, guys, for the end of the video. When you're building a machine for someone, there is a lot of pressure on the builder, myself, to deliver, because someone is expecting the perfect machine, system, setup and experience. Now, with the Radeon RX 6800 being a HDMI 2.1 graphics card, I hooked it up to my LG C9, got 4K 120Hz, and then it wasn't going swimmingly. Basically, at the minute, as you can see, it can run Crysis, but not with the LG C9. And I spent a whole night piss-arsing around, to be honest, wasting my time, because there are compatibility issues at the moment with my LG C9. Whether that goes for all HDMI 2.1 displays, I don't know. But this is the problem that you may have heard with AMD and their janky drivers. Now, when I had it hooked up to the LG C9, I could load a game, get it to run once, depending on the game, and then it wouldn't run again. I'd get a the game would launch, pretty much go through the start of the title, then would just sit at a black screen. And I was like, oh dear man, because obviously this system is going to someone in the family, going to my brother-in-law. And I didn't want to say, oh, here you go mate, I've ordered you this cutting edge graphics card. And the 6800 is a beast. It was running some older titles at 4K at times, 120Hz, dipping down into the 90s for 4K. It's a beast. But anyway, I didn't want to have to hand it over and go, oh, but there's problems. So this morning, I've hooked it up to my Asus monitor. That's not going to be mine, that's for somebody else. And I thought, just over standard monitor and that. Let's see what happens. And the good news is it works perfectly, and as you can see, I'm running Crisis on the LG display. That couldn't even happen. Now, something I need to test for, and I haven't been able to do it at the minute, is sound. I haven't got any sound hooked up at the moment. And on the LG C9, when I tried to run Crisis, the sound was cutting in and out. Again, these are probably first world HDMI 2.1 problems, and connected up on a standard monitor, this is 1080p 60, it doesn't seem to be having any issues. Now, I know when the RTX 3080s came out, there were issues with the LG C9, but Nvidia and LG have got together and fixed that. They are resolved. And this is the thing, Nvidia out the box currently, especially with the ray tracing, is probably, in my opinion, from experience, going to give a smoother experience than AMD cards, because this RDNA 2 is cutting edge, it's new to the market, but as it's also in the consoles, I think all these problems should be, hopefully, quickly ironed out. Now, some of you may be wanting benchmarks, and I don't have the hours that I can put in every day, so I just want to report the RX 6800 is a 4K beast. It certainly beats my 2080 Ti. My 2080 Ti is limited to HDMI 2B, so it doesn't really boost above 60 FPS. I'm really pleased with how this has come together, and I've got to be honest, I'm really impressed with the Asus STRIX B450 motherboard. So far, it's just been faultless. I think I probably rambled enough for this video. If you've got questions about this build or want any further information, please comment down below. If you've watched all this video, if you've got to the end, you are a survivor. Thank you very much, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'd love to be doing more of this, but you've got to make that happen. I can only make the videos. You guys are going to actually invest in me and subscribe. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon in more videos to come. Peace out.